Okay, so iPad in the classroom, serendipity of serendipities, right? Higher quantification, Chronicle of Higher Education, excuse me, just came out with an article this week that more or less said poo-poo on the use of iPad in the classroom. So I'm actually going to look at a couple of the software they looked at, plus I'm going to expand it a little bit. So it's a tool, right? It's a presentation tool, it's a educational tool, it's a learning tool. And so as learning tools, right, it's only as good as the person that's using the tool and if the tool is being used in the right fashion. Do not use an electric drill to hammer nails, right, and don't use a hammer to put in screws, right? So you got to use it in the right place. What we'll talk about today is iPad in the classroom. Wireless input device. If any of you were really fast there, you notice that I just changed the slide by touching my iPad, but my iPad is over here, not over there. My laptop is hooked up to the projector, but the iPad is in my hand. We're looking at Annotate. A lot of people are using that currently. It's very powerful. Dr. Halterman, one of my colleagues, actually was the one that got me interested in using that. Electronic chalkboard. We actually used this when we were in Italy last summer teaching, because there are no whiteboards in Italy. And then recording electronic chalkboard, that's something I just started looking at this semester. Presentations, and then we'll look at some of the other expanded possibilities. There's a couple of things when you're using the input device. One is you need to have all of your finger movements down. I don't remember all my finger movements, so you notice I just hit the keyboard and I got myself back out. Then click that. I want to show you another software. Again, being an organic chemist, it's very dynamic. And that's one of the things that's going to be kind of a flow through the whole presentation this lunchtime. Sorry, I was going to say morning, but it's lunch. Is that when you're looking at the iPad and the fact that it has a different type of interface than the static interface, is that it allows you to be more dynamic. And when you're looking at things like organic chemistry, that is very dynamic. You know, it's nice if you can go in, and again, technology is always fun, so there we go. You know, you can sit around, draw what you want to. Again, if you've got great penmanship, this will look good. If you draw like I do, you'll notice it's not the best thing in the world. But it allows you, right, to move around in the classroom. One of the reasons for doing that, just like you are now, your eyes are moving to follow you. If your eyes are moving, usually you have a harder time falling asleep, right? So in a class of 300, this is nice. The other thing that this does, right, is I can put a question, and we'll put a simple question. I won't put an organic question, right? And then I'll hand it to someone.
The pressure's on.
The pressure's on. Right?
Right? Do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, answer it. Right? And now, what have I done? Right? I brought the class and left for it. Very good. Right? So all of a sudden now you have a device, right, that you can ask the students. You got a question, right? You hand your iPad to the class. One of the students answers it for you, right? Okay, so therefore making it more active. So that's one of the nice things about the iPad, right, that is a little bit different than you might see in a tablet. The author of the Chronicle of Higher Education article was correct that a lot of the things you see the iPad, and I'll show you today, you could do with a tablet. But there are also things, and this is one of the big ones, right, is that I now have a wireless input device. Unlike other wireless input devices, right, I see what I'm drawing. Right? They have some low-cost input devices, but it's a blank piece of paper like this, right? And now I'm drawing a 2 and a plus here, and if I'm not really good at that, which most of our generation is not good at drawing here and looking there, right? So that really improves it, especially when you need to get detail. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to switch this connection, and of course, all instructors know that anytime you switch devices, you're in for a, so if there's a hiccup, please hold with me. What you need, right, is a dongle. I call it a dongle. Mac people are used to this, you know. So if you get the iPad, you're going to need one of these, right? So all you need is a VGA. The new operating system mirrors whatever is on the iPad. That makes it very nice because anything that's on the iPad will mirror. The first generation iPads, you had to be more concerned with what was going on. So here we're going to stop this by hitting my home key. We're also going to do one other thing right now. This is important. It's something I didn't do the first time I used the iPad. Is first I'm going to change this, okay, just to show you from my mistakes. The other one I'm going to do is I'm going to location lock that, right, so that if I decide to pick this up, it won't make you all nauseous from the screen rotating. Okay, this is actually the page where we're going to be looking at most of the activities. Let's go ahead and open the Keynote. Keynote is Mac's version of PowerPoint. You can actually produce on this, but really it's easier to produce on your Mac and then just import it in into the program. So we were here, the wireless input devices. Right, so the two ones that I've used and have experience with are Air Display. Air Display works really well. Air Display doesn't play well with our OU Wi-Fi system, but it does work well with internal. So I usually use an Air Express, and I make my Airport Express, and I actually make my own internal Wi-Fi system for this that increases the speed. Okay. The one I'm used today, which we just got finished demonstrating, was the Splashtop Remote Desktop. This one has the advantage that you can actually, if you have a Gmail account, you can link through using your Gmail account. And that one I was using through the OU Wi-Fi, and I've used it 3 places today using the OU Wi-Fi. So the Splashtop works really well, and again, that gives you the input, the wireless input. The next one I'm going to demonstrate is iAnnotate. Again, these are annotate. There's lots of annotate files. Some of you may already have a different app for annotation of PDF. This is the one that is recommended, and this is the one that most of the faculty I know that use this use. It's really powerful. Come on in. There's some space over here. So let me move over to that. So here we have our announcement, right? I annotate. We'll switch our keyboard out here. Okay, so we want to highlight this one here, right? So I'm in class. I'm talking about a presentation. So how would you use this, right? Well, you've got several different ways to use this. In the classroom, you could have an article and you could do just what I did, highlight there, right? Or you could take your PowerPoint, put those into PDF, right? And then you could actually use this to demonstrate that. Then we've got other tools here. We can come over here and say, that's the one you want to go to. It's got the big crowd. There we go. Right? So we got that. One of the things that often is seen as a potential problem with the iPad is it won't let you do PowerPoint. Right, but here's a PowerPoint I created, for my organic class, spectroscopy. I just converted that to PDF, emailed that, got it in my iPad, and put it into iAnnotate. So now here it is, right? I can make this smaller on the side. There is a way to get rid of the tabs at the top, just so that people won't see that. And then you just scroll down, right? And then you decide, okay, well, I want them to understand that. And you got lots of colors there, right? So I want them to understand that that is abbreviated IR, so I write that in, so I'm giving my lecture about that. I want them to understand, right, that this is where that comes from, right? So now I'm actually not just giving a static PowerPoint presentation. Now it's becoming more dynamic. Now I can add information to it. I didn't mean to do that one. We can go down a couple of spectra. Okay, so here, right, I want to type in there. This is a carbonyl. Right, return, done. Okay, and then they can go in and do that, right? Now you can do this all in class, right? And you're noticing what I'm doing again is making it dynamic. So I'm turning the information into a more dynamic system. So this is in the classroom presentation. Now when I'm done with that, right, then I can go over, hit another key, right? I can say, yeah, let's send all of it. Let's send it to myself or the whole class, right? And so these are my class notes, right? And if I had the special little number they give us for our students listserv, right? You store that in your iPad. When you're done with class, click, 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 all your students have your notes, right? Yes, sir?
So I want to be clear here. When you were walking around using it as a wireless controller, you were on top of PowerPoint, weren't you? You were able to.
I was actually using Keynote, but you can use anything that's on your Mac. When you're using it as a wireless input device,
right.
Anything that's on your computer, and again, it could be PC or it could be Mac based.
Okay, so you were annotating at the top of your PowerPoint screen. You could be doing that. The
Right.
only difference is you're not saving that. That's why we're doing this. Is that the difference?
No, difference is iPad alone versus iPad through your computer. Okay. The first one was using the iPad as an input device on anything you have on your computer.
Yeah.
It becomes a wireless screen. If those of you that have been following tech, remember the Wacom touch screens, right? It costs about $3,000. Now iPad becomes wireless, $500, right? What I'm doing now is it's directly hooked up, right? Class, and now I'm showing you how would you present, how could you use this that you couldn't really use with just a laptop, right? You might be able to do this with a tablet PC, right? But not with just a laptop. Yes, sir?
So has that hooked up to the projector wireless?
No. No, not currently. You can do it using an Apple TV. Okay, so you can actually stream this directly using the Apple software to stream directly into an Apple TV. So if you took an Apple TV hooked up, it should work. Okay. All right, so questions about that? So we've emailed that to ourselves. iAnnotate, any other questions about iAnnotate? The other advantages to iAnnotate, yes sir?
Can it interface with D2L instead of cluttering my email? And
Actually,
sending out a bunch of email, can it interface
good question. Good question. I'm not sure if it will interface directly with D2L, but it will interface with Dropbox. Okay, they just put that in the newest update of iAnnotate. So you can now, if you have a Dropbox account, you can send it straight to Dropbox. Right. I just said how easy it is to send to class, right?
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do this and store it, Dropbox is probably the best hookup right now that they have. I'm not sure that it would work directly to D2L. Okay. I'm not as experienced to try that, but if I can figure that out, I will tell you. It will not. Okay. But the new system will do Dropbox.
Mark,
Yeah.
for the iTV, or Mac TV or whatever, so if you hook that up to the projector, that's a Wi-Fi, can you take iAnnotate and walk with it and have it wirelessly?
Right.
Go to your iTV and have it run the projector?
Right.
Oh,
So if you use the Apple TV, what you're using there is you're just using a wireless connection device. So therefore, what it does is it takes out the hard link, and you can be walking around with it.
Nice.
Right. Now, the thing I don't know is I haven't checked to see if the Apple TV works with our system, but I don't see where it would.
Because it's usually just the ether type input.
It's HDMI, but I'm not sure. I'll get the IT guys to answer that for me. Yes, sir.
I would just say the College of Engineering is doing a pilot with, I think there's 10 Apple TVs, and they're doing a pilot to test that setup in the classroom with their faculty. And so if you guys are interested, we can certainly arrange a demo. We can find a time to show you guys how it works and ask all the technical questions. So anything that you have questions about iPad, if it's not directly from Mark, you can send it to academictech@ou.edu and we will respond. Thank you.
All right.
I've got one more question on
Yes.
my annotate.
Mhm.
So when you saved it, it got saved as a PDF?
PDF. And so it can save it in 3 formats. It can save it without the annotate, right? You can
Okay.
save it flattened, meaning it's there and there's nothing you do about it. Or you can save it as annotate and in preview and Acrobat.
Okay, because I'm thinking about students who don't have Macs.
if they don't have
Right.
Macs or they don't have it'll work in Acrobat. So you can
Right, but they have the Acrobat, not just Acrobat Reader, right?
right. No, Acrobat Reader.
We'll open the little,
Right, but you can flatten it. If you flatten it, it works just like any PDF
Okay.
file, and they'll see everything.
Okay.
Right? They won't be able to modify it. Now, that's a good point when we're talking about students, right? This gets us out of the paper need, right? Because now you have a way to actually grade papers, email it back to the students, right? So you can grade your paper here, send it back to students, make comments, then they can redo their paper, send it back to you. So this is a nice loop, and the interface is very fast. But going back to our, well, that's not the program I wanted, but it's easy to get back. So that was Annotate. Electronic chalkboard, again, being an organic chemist, we're very graphic. I don't know if that came out correctly. The best application, I think, for this one, as far as in-class writing notes, is Penultimate. And in Penultimate, you know, you've got a nice interface. You've got a lot of colors, right? It's a little bit of practice. You can actually draw pretty well, and this is not the iPad's fault. This is my handwriting. Really, it's horrible. You know, so you can put in your reaction here. You can come up with a product, right? And okay, well, that's not that dynamic. But then let's say that we want to show how this works. So I'm going to put in my molecule. Oh, made a mistake. Come back over here. We'll put positive charge there. Okay, you know, make it shine out. We're going to do the flow through here, and we're going to get our product. All right. So you know, the idea here is it can be dynamic. Yes.
How come it's not showing, I have Penultimate on my iPad, but how come it's not showing the menus where where you change the pen colors?
Because it's not it's only presenting what's on it. So the mirroring for Penultimate shows you that, right? And I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was doing that. But yeah, so there's 8 different colors, right? You can actually import pictures. So if you wanted to use this program, right, you would just import your picture there. You can draw over it, right? You can draw notes on the side. It does have a keyboard function where you can type in if you want to type in keyboard function, right? Again, the nice thing about this one is that you go over here, right? You can do lots of things with it. Include,
We say go over there, we're not seeing anything.
So you're not seeing. Sorry, I should have a document camera. Okay, so shoot, I thought it would show that. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so what's on the screen right now is a box that gives me options. I can send this page as an email. I can send the entire notebook as an email. I can send it to Pages. I can send it to other, and there's different ways. Again, Penultimate is put Dropbox, so I can send this class notes to Penultimate, right? So the Penultimate thing to the Dropbox, and then send that, put that on D2L, right? So that's the connect on both of these. What it does, right, is that you can import pictures, you can import text, but you have that dynamic interface, right? So it allows you to do the tablet, but it allows you to do to also then quickly get this to the class. So when I'm done with class, I hit the email button to my class, right? And as soon as I'm done with class, pop, 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 they have it in their box, right? So it goes directly to them. They don't have to worry about waiting 2 or 3 days for me to have enough time to put it on D2L. Yes, sir.
In response to the fact that students can get the lecture notes immediately and get what you've written on the board immediately, does their note-taking behavior / attention wane, thinking, oh no, I'll just, he's going to write it.
I'd actually say that because this is dynamic and more active, this would have the opposite effect.
Okay.
Right? What this does, right, if they know they have it, and if they're using a note-taking on their iPad, when they get it, they go out of class, right, and the first thing they do is what? Check their notes.
Yeah.
Right? So all of a sudden now you have a very fast connection of not only did I take notes because Dr. Morvant's writing the notes, so I might as well write them, right? But now I can go check and make sure I got it right. Or on the PowerPoint, right? Now you got the PowerPoint, right? Instead of, he's going to read the PowerPoint, he's going to be writing on the PowerPoint. You know, I need to make sure that's there. So I'd actually say that it, compared to straight PowerPoint or handing out PowerPoints, this is going in the right direction. And again, I want to get across the idea that it's a dynamic interface. The other nice thing about it is you can switch back and forth pretty easily, less clunky than some other things. So Penultimate, most of these cost something. Penultimate, I think it's $7.99. I annotate, I think, was around $7.99. So they're relatively cheap. Electronic, this one I just started looking at this semester. Let's go ahead and show you this again, being a dynamic or graphic based. We're always drawing pictures. So let's open Screenshot. Okay. So here you can actually see everything. So what I'm going to do is start record. It's going to give me a little countdown. And so this is not so much in class. But let's say somebody sent me an email and said, you know, Dr. Morvant, can you explain that addition of hydrogen bromine to an alkene? Well, then, you know, okay, well, that would take about 2.5 pages to explain to you the mechanism of that. But, all right, well, we'll go down here. Well, that pin's really big. And then, you know, there's up. And I'm talking, right? It's actually recording my voice. So at this point, I go, remember stability of the carbocation. You know, so why is it on the secondary position? I can answer those Socratic method questions, right? And then we have Br minus. That's coming back in there. I know this is boring many of you that are not related to it. Dr. Halterman and myself are enjoying it, but the rest of you not. All right. And then we stop, right? This is not so much in class. Okay, and we stop that because I don't like my voice. All right. Now notice, this is the drawback to both of these software programs. This is actually it. When you're done, they want you to send it to a web-based storage system, right? So this one will actually do Facebook, for those of you who can't see, Facebook or screenchops.com. Both of them are free. You know, there it's going to send it. Now it's sent, right? What it'll tell me to do is it'll tell me, you know, cloud shared preparing my video. So it's still working there. It's still working. This one's longer than the one I tried last night. So still working, right? But what it allows you to do is once it's up on there, you can send a link and the students can go directly there. Or once it's up on the link, you can download it back, right? And put it on D2L, right? So that's powerful. So now you had one student in class ask you a question by email that really is going to take you 2 pages and about 30 minutes to answer. But if you could just tell them and maybe show them, right? You could do it a minute, right? Now, if one student asks that question, 80 students have that question, right? And so now it's a resource you put online. You know, you give it a little title, put it on D2L. They can go look at it. And, you know, every once in a while you go make sure you can check the questions answered site. So now it's done. So it's connecting. It's online. You see down here it says share, you know, email link, copy link, tweet link. If you tweet for your class, you can tweet the little link, right? If you email the link, then it comes to you. You can send it to yourself. Then you go to the link, and then on your computer, right, you download it into your system. This was not as slick as being able to go to Dropbox directly. And so they're quick little instructional videos, right? The only drawback to this one, and if you're one of those people, like I know there are faculty out there that don't like things in the cloud, that's the big drawback. And that's the only drawback I found to these 2 programs, is that they're in the other one is the Education Creations right here. So Screenshot, you just saw an example of that. It is from Camtasia, which is one of the better screen capture programs. And then Ed Creations, again, it's got a third party. You have to create a site there. For a Screenshot, you don't even create a site. You don't even have to put your name, anything. It just takes it. Excellent to getting resources directly to students quickly. And again, you know, I think that's something the students are really going to, or we know the students want more of. Okay, presentations. Well, you're seeing the presentations, right? But I did want to go ahead and show that, right? Keynotes is an excellent program. You can produce your own keynotes with the iPad, but again, it's faster if you do it on the computer and then just upload it to your iPad, either through iTunes or you can email it to the iPad. Now, keynotes will import PowerPoint directly. Okay, so let's look at that. So we'll stop this one, go over here to my presentations, and here's one I imported recently. Okay, that doesn't look good, right? So it imported it, but this is exactly the same PowerPoint we saw in iAnnotate a second ago. So, well, that means that I got to come over here. Let's see, make sure I get the right one. Go here, go there. I'm good, right? And it turns out on this one, it's lucky because the only one that really looked bad was the first one. Okay. So you can import, well, this one looks a little off. If that bothers you, which it does me, you would want to move that before you present it, right? But it'll import it, and it's usually very good. The thing you have to remember with all OS devices, right, is it won't handle Flash. So if you have a Flash in your PowerPoint, it's not going to show it. Right? But you link, what you do is instead of putting the Flash in there, you link it to the website, right? Let the website write Flash. Yes?
What about if you have animations in PowerPoint where you have objects?
If they're not Flash, then
Ones that you create.
those will also come over, and you would probably just want to check them. Okay? So they'll also be imported into Keynotes. Keynotes has the same kind of animation that you would see in PowerPoint. You just need to check them to make sure that, you know, when you want it to go here, it doesn't fly over there and then back again. But I don't usually put a lot of animations. I do dynamics by drawing.
Mark, so I guess I don't understand why you wouldn't just go tethered, or untethered, the way you started. You have to have a laptop and an iPad anyway, so is it a hysteresis problem or something that you're worried about the wireless part? Why wouldn't you just use PowerPoint?
Okay, so I particularly draw light. So the penultimate, you notice how smooth it was and how fast it was?
Right.
The wireless is not as fast.
Oh, you can't do that. Can you do penultimate?
You can do if you, again, the Apple TV connection, which they're looking at, right?
Yeah.
You can do anything that's on the iPad, and then but there's a couple of reasons why I'm showing them both ways, right?
Okay.
This is a light little iPad. I take the class and I do my entire class, right, with just the iPad.
No PC needed.
No PC needed. I don't have to carry two things, right? I don't have to make sure that there's a wireless connection that's, so there's advantages to that. There's advantages just having an iPad coming into class and doing everything.
So you're tethered.
But I'm tethered, right? Then there's advantages, right? Especially, I know you like to walk around your class, you have one of the wireless input devices. The advantage here is if the Apple TV works well, right? You would have put an Apple TV or you put your laptop, and I'd suggest the Apple TV because they're about that big.
It's lighter.
Really light, right? Throw it in your pocket to go to class, right? Hook that up. Then you're doing everything I'm doing here, right? But you're walking around with it, you're handing it to your students, everything I demonstrated at first of the presentation. So the only difference is, here I've got a toggle and I've got the iPad. But of course, the other way to do this is just to go ahead and take your PowerPoint, convert it to PDF, and then put an iAnnotate. And you have both possibilities, right? Not only can I present it, but now I can draw over it. Now I can bring attention to things. I can add things. I can make it a more dynamic lecture. I can have a question on there, right? I can ask the students, where is the funny bone, and I can hand it to somebody, not even hand them anything. I use a stylus. I like stylus because I wasn't raised to do this when I was writing. But, then they are answering the question, right? So, or you're saying, well, can you find we're in the architecture really, where would be the flaw in this architecture structure? You hand it, you let the students look at it, decide what's going on, then hand it to a student and say, okay, explain it to everybody. Right? And then they can input that without having to move, without having to worry about the dynamics. So again, I think what I see as bringing in here is dynamics, but again, wirelessly, as Doug pointed out, is the best way to go. It's just that the tether is nice and simple and it's efficient. I changed programs without wanting to. Expanded possibilities. Now these I'm not going to actually demonstrate. I don't have a lot of experience with them, mainly because I don't have 4 iPads. But ShareBoard is something that actually Dr. Hoffman brought to my attention, or Ron brought up to my attention. It allows you to connect 4 iPads, and then what is being done on the 4 iPads? Everybody. So if you have a problem, so what we're thinking about in organic chemistry, right, is we put a problem on there. And instead of it being one person in the whiteboard trying to solve it with 3 people watching, or one person in a piece of paper and 3 persons watching, right? It's 4 people looking at the whiteboard, or 4 people looking at the piece of paper, and everybody sees everybody else's input at the same time.
They can all draw with a different color ink.
They can all draw with a different color ink, right? So therefore, if you had them do that in class, right? Let's say an engineering project where they have to do some type of brainstorming activity like that, they all have different ink colors of ink. Then all of a sudden now you have them email it to you when they're done. Now you can assess all of their activity, right? You can see if Bob was over there scribbling in his orange ink and really didn't do anything, right? Or you can see if the person had the red ink, right? Mary was over there and she was really dissecting it and really got into the activity, right? So that's a possibility I think that we and organic, especially the action students, are potentially looking at. The other one is the iThoughts mind mapping, right? Here it actually helps you mind map. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the ShareBoard. Does
Yes.
anyone know if OU or Equipment Rental rents out iPads yet for students?
Not
like
sure.
if we wanted to encourage them to go rent one, bring it to class, and collaborate?
So the library does check out iPads internally. So within the library, not necessarily to check out the class. College of Architecture has 15, I believe, they check out to their students as well. But currently there's not a checkout function for iPads within the university, but we can certainly pursue it.
And again, it's something we're gonna look at it, maybe working with the Action Center on giving that possibility, right? So if it looks like it'll work on a small pilot, we may actually try and get a resource where through the tutoring maybe that is possible, right? But I just want to show you some other future possibilities. Right, the mind mapping, I know a lot of people are using mind mapping. This mind mapping app helps them do that, right? Feedback from students is actually they're using this software to actually take their notes in class. Okay? So not only could it be an active activity in your lecture, the students may actually get into this kind of connective mind mapping and work their molecules. I'm going to show you this one mainly because I just think it's really cool. Let's see. DNA, right?
That's cool.
So here we have DNA. We can make it bigger. We can make it smaller. We can get rid of this list. Right? I can change it so it spins a little bit different. I can make it go this way. Get it rotated again. Right. So why did I show you this? Besides, I think it's really cool. You want to see something different, it'll download it. The nice thing about this software actually is that you can go into the database of crystallography and it'll download anything that's in the database. So most enzymes, anything that's in the any open source database. Okay, but why did I say that? Well, remember that it's app driven, right? There are cool apps out there, right, that aren't just cool, but they're educational. And for that one, right, imagine, for those of you that did take organic chemistry, imagine if you had in your hand something where you could actually rotate it. And what we've learned about visualization in organic chemistry, right, is if you see the 2D structure and you see the 3D structure, that's really cool. If you see the 2D structure on the computer, that's good. If you see the 3D structure on the computer, that's good. But it actually turns out the kinetics of touching it, of touching the 3D model that's actually there in your hand and rotating it, like you just did with the iPad, that connection to the structure and visualization is the make or break, right? And so there may be something like this that you think, oh, that's cool, but think about how does that affect the learning, right? How does that impact how the students are taking in the information? So my end today is I disagree with the Chronicle of Higher Education article there are some very valuable. Yes, you can do most of the things that the iPad with a tablet PC. But there are things you can do with the iPad that are beyond that, especially the connection to the students, the speed of getting your content back to the students after class, wirelessly getting the students involved in your class, right? But there also may be some apps specific to your content, your area, right, that may make a big difference. Even the fact of even showing an app in class that you think that they could use to better learn your material, that may make it. So it's app driven. The better the apps get, and they get better and better every day. I would say, I would probably have done the entire lecture next year by being non-tethered, right? But what I've noticed about these remote access input device soft apps is that they're getting better and better. Last summer, it kept dropping. In the mid-fall, it was great. Now, I probably wouldn't do the entire lecture. But I did want to show that, you can tether it. It mirrors perfect. It mirrors everything on the app. So, okay. With that, I'll finish my lecture and take any questions.
Thank you.
All right,